off our StreamYard, which doesn't exist during the course of the regular show, and then it pops up when we go live. By the way, we're live on Twitter. That's why there was that echo right there. I got my defeater dongle in now, so we're all good. Sorry to have to explain that to you. Follow us on Twitter. The handle is, Luddy?
The Game MKE.
All right, Jeff Levering joins us now from the West Coast. Good morning, Mr. Levering. How are you?
Good morrow, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Doing good. So the boys last night get back on their winning ways. The magic number is 9. Once again, they close out a game, a close game, a one-run game, and they're now 66-3, I see, when leading after 7. That's the best in the NL. How are they doing it? Obviously, having the airbender back helps, but he was in the shop for a good chunk of the season.
Yes, the bullpens have really been fantastic over the course of the season. And Trevor McGill, who stepped in at the end of April, and 20 out of 22 in save opportunities. Devin Williams has converted on all but 1. You could throw a rock at anybody out there, and they basically had a save for the Brewers this season. So it's been fully collective effort, but they've played so many one-run games over this era, right? They just play tight games. So they know what to do. They know what their role is in these situations, and they've thrived in close games the last 6 years.
I'm curious as to what other broadcasters and media types who cover other teams ask you and the other traveling members that cover the Brewers on a day-to-day basis ask you about the team, as now we're coming down the home stretch here, and they're one of the great stories in baseball that I'm not saying that they've been ignored per se, but people are paying attention. What do the other writers want to know about these Brewers from you more often than not?
Yeah, I think we talked about it last week, but it's everybody asks us, how are they doing it? And the thing is that it's something different every night. Pretty much the consistent thing is they put pressure on defenses with their offense because they steal bases, they take extra bases, and they're very aggressive. They bunt. It's a fun brand of baseball offensively. And then they've pitched exceptionally well. Again, that bullpen's been very consistent over the course of the year. There's been very little turnover to that bullpen. It's been the same cast of characters basically all season long. And then they have found a good rotation, a good stable of guys to make starts over the last 6 weeks since the trade deadline with Montas. They traded for Savali. But since they added Frankie Montas to the rotation, they haven't had a different 5 starters at all, except for DL Hall in the second game of that doubleheader in Cincinnati. So it's been a very consistent run where for the first 4 months, that was not the case. This was anything but consistent with their rotation. So they've been able to find the secret sauce in the rotation, and they're just a competitive bunch. I mean, Murph talks about it all the time about winning today, but I really think that this team has bought into that.
Jeff, as Brewer fans, when do we start looking at matchups for playoffs and all that? Like when do you start evaluating that and looking? Because we're all looking at the Cubs a little bit and trying to figure out, and you see what the Met, like, when can fans start looking at that and trying to pencil in who that first team they might play is?
I think it's down to 2 teams, really, Butchie. I think it's between the Braves and I think it's between the Mets. Those are the 2 that seems like is going to be the likely matchup. Now, the Brewers still have a chance, and they got helped out by the Cubs yesterday. Yes, the division magic number did not dwindle, but they gained the game on the Dodgers for a potential 2 or 1 seed. So once you start finding your way into where you're going to be in the postseason, and I think that while they still can catch the Dodgers and they can catch the Phillies for one of those top 2 seeds, I believe that they're going to be in that number 3 seed for a wild card. They just don't have the tiebreakers of Philadelphia and LA, so it's an uphill climb for that. So you're looking at the Braves and the Mets, and I'm thinking next week when the Brewers come back home, they've got the Phillies and the Diamondbacks, huge series, fun series. And a potential clinching situation next week when the Brewers play against the Phillies or the D-backs. So a lot to hopefully celebrate, but that's when you're going to start really dialing in on who your potential opponent's going to be.
And then at that point, Jeff, do they look at resting these guys a little bit? They're young, which has helped, but do you have to worry about that as a Brewer fan? Because you're going to have this somewhat wrapped up, and now you want to keep the momentum going, but you've also got some things and guys you can heal up and stuff.
Yeah, I think that these guys are going to play more than anything, because they've got 13 straight right now before their next off day, before the last week of the season. So I think they're going to try and get creative with their rotation. You heard Pat Murphy talk about it yesterday, where they might go to a 6-man rotation just to give the pitchers an extra day of rest in between them. Their next spot starts, and then maybe that final week where you're at Pittsburgh and then at home against the Mets. You may get creative with the way that you pitch, but I think the position players are going to go balls to the wall for that last week just to get themselves ready for postseason and stay consistent.
Jeff, and resting with pitchers is not nearly as much as resting with positional players, correct?
I don't. I think it goes both ways.
Okay.
I mean, for a position player, get a day off is always a good thing, but they have the built-in day off a week from Monday coming up. So after this 13, they'll have that initial day off. But I think for pitchers, it's a good thing too. It's not bad, especially for the starters. Push them back a day. That's never a bad thing. The Brewers have been very judicious with that over the course of the year too.
The schedule looks tough after this. They got a Phillies sandwich between the Diamondbacks, D-backs for 3 at their place, Phillies at home for 3, and then home against the D-backs for 4. What is a good number for that 10-game stretch, in your opinion?
I mean, 5-5 is really what you're going to strive for. I think. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you try and win the series. You try and go, if you can win one of those series, and maybe you don't win the series in Arizona, so maybe you go 1-2 there, and then you try and take 2 out of 3 against Philadelphia. That's great. That's a 500 trip, and then you can go 2-2 against the D-backs. I think that would be, I mean, marginally, boom, there you go. You get your 5-5. If you go 6-4, that's really good. If you go 7-3, man, that's fantastic. Because both of those teams are playing really, really good baseball right now.
Right. Is Aaron Ashby a possible bullpen addition for the postseason?
I think he's solidified himself in that spot, the way that he's thrown. I think it'd be very tough not to have Ashby, DL Hall, and Joe Ross. You'd have to, I think right now, the way that they're throwing, those are 3 must pencil in, not just pencil, but Sharpie. They are in Sharpie for the postseason bullpen.
How does a guy like that adjust mentally? I mean, he was a top prospect, was a starter, and now he's having to embrace a lesser role, but at least he's in the bigs and he's part of a team. Is that a tough thing for pitchers to accept? Okay, I'm not a starter anymore.
I don't think so, especially for Ashby. I think Ashby's case is different than others because he wasn't healthy for the last couple of years. He's coming off that shoulder injury. His stuff wasn't what it was in spring training. I mean, they were trying to build him back up last year after the shoulder injury and the surgery. And then spring training, he still was 91, 92, maybe 93 on occasion. So I'll make a couple of spot starts, but the stuff was just different. It wasn't coming out of his hand smooth. And then he goes down in the minor leagues. And I think finally that shoulder got healthy where he trusted what was going on in that shoulder. So he comes back up to the big leagues. He goes in the bullpen for a week down in the minors and was awesome. So he gets brought up. And now he's 97 and 99. The stuff is awesome. He's throwing his off-speed stuff for strikes. I think it's not buying into his role, that he's not a starter, he's in the bullpen. I think that's kind of a wash. It's more he's trusting that shoulder again, and he believes that shoulder's not going to blow out on him, and he feels good. I think that's the most important thing for Ashby.
I'm looking at the wild card standings right now in both leagues just to get myself familiar with what races we have coming down the stretch here. How do we get the average casual sports fan in another city locked in and kind of interested in the race for the final wild card in both American League and National League Baseball? Has that ship sailed in the sports landscape, or what are your thoughts?
No, I think it's really important. It's a chance to go to the playoffs wherever you are. I mean, if you're the Mets and the Braves, you're battling against each other in the division, plus you're battling
Right.
against each other for that last spot. And I mean, the Mets are going to have something to play for the last series in Milwaukee.
They're currently they're
for a
in.
week.
Right. They're in right now. They're hanging on to the last ladder rung, which is hard to believe, Butchie, given that we had Frank the Tank on earlier in the spring. And all he did was spend the entire segment ripping his beloved New York Mets. And there they are, winners of 8 of the last 10.
Yeah, they had a 9-game winning streak that just got snapped. So they're playing really good ball right now. Their pitching staff is kind of formed in. They've made some decent moves to fortify their bullpen. Francisco Lindor is an MVP candidate. The Braves are banged up. There's no way to get around that. But I mean, do you really want to face Chris Sale in Game 1, or do you want to face Max Fried? Right. So, I mean, pick your poison with either one of those teams. But they're going to be battling to the last game of the season. So yeah, I think there's a lot of external people watching that last race to see who's going to get in and hopefully make their way to Milwaukee.
The Cubs are 4 games back of that final wild card, assuming it doesn't happen for them this year. Can you summarize succinctly what happened this year for the Cubs?
Great Mighty Wind reference. Fantastic.
Yes. What happened?
What happened? I think the Cubs just never got consistent offense. That Bellinger was down. The rotation was kind of meh. Their bullpen was kind of meh. It just hasn't happened for them. And I don't know how to explain it. It just if they're going to get hot, they're getting hot in September, and it's going to be too late. But they were just super inconsistent over the course of the year. That's the best way that I can describe it. And they didn't really have any big boppers, but I could see them going out and trying to spend some money in the off season.
All right. Did you get back home to Sacramento for a bit out there?
No, did not. But my folks came down, so we had a nice dinner on Monday night, and they came to the game last night, coming tonight. And then I won't see them till the holidays. So it's always good to catch up with my folks.
Did you catch the 49er game?
We watched some of it. Yes, we were out to dinner at the same time as the game was going on, but we were following along. Yes.
Bunch of cheaters. Did you have Christian McCaffrey as your running back?
In fantasy? No, I did
not.
That's
a good thing. They decide they want to lie and cheat. They know everybody else on Friday, he's not going to play, but, the 49ers just find ways to keep cheating. That's possible, but that's why you're a fan of them. I understand it.
That's a reach.
They're really good. They're a really good team. They've got good players.
Lying about injuries. Every team lies about injuries. Plus, if you're the Niners, you could say, well, we told Mason be ready to start. He took that as I am starting, and then we kept on applying ice and cryo and stim to Christian McCaffrey's calf as long as we could. Couldn't go on Monday. Whoops.
Yeah, it sounds like Butchie's got some angst because he started Christian McCaffrey in his fantasy week.
No comment.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You son of a bitch. All right. Very good.
Snacks, find some vending machine snacks.
Yes.
Mr. Levering, as always, thank you for answering the call and waking up on a Wednesday morning. We'll talk to you next week.
You got it. See you guys.
Jeff Levering from Bally Sports, Wisconsin. Always ready to go, even at an early hour. 7:15 out there. No, 6:15. 6:15. West Coast time. He's probably up doing his workout or something like that.
Yeah.
Guy's just
a machine.
Coming up, Aaron Nagler on the Packers. Nobody is able to project positivity in the face of dire circumstances quite like Aaron Nagler of Cheesehead TV. We'll get his take and his vibe on what we expect to be a Malik Willis start Sunday in Lambeau against the Colts. Here we go. Colts minus 3.5, maybe 3 if you shop carefully somewhere. Tackle football, 60 minutes. Anything can happen. High noon at Lambeau Field on Sunday. Glorious weather for the home opener for 2024. Aaron Nagler joins us now from CheeseheadTV.com. He is our Packer insider. These segments brought to you by our partners, Rogers Behavioral Health, Hildebrand Law, The Great Taste of Miller Lite, and Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference. Mr. Nagler, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zabe. Good morning, boys. How we doing on this fine Wednesday morning?
How was your excellent adventure to South America, my friend?
It was excellent.
I am all ears.
It was phenomenal. I will say, right up until the game, just like the London trip, I had a phenomenal time. It was a magical kind of experience right up until the Packers put a dagger in my heart. But other than that, it was beautiful. I absolutely loved the passion of the Brazilian fans. There were so many Packers fans down there, both from Brazil, obviously, but from all over the world.
Right.
It's just a vibe. It's a great party until the game happens, and then
Zabe, the NFL is cutting them in on this, just like everybody else. You feel like you're sounding like all the coaches, Nag. Hey, the NFL, it's great in Brazil.
I'll tell you though, I didn't know what to expect. I thought, okay, like there could be some issues, what have you, but man, I'm telling you, it was great right up until the Packers lost.
Did you have this game buttonholed to go to from the minute it was on the schedule, or was
100%.
this more of a later, hey,
no,
100%,
no.
okay.
Look, Corey and I have been saying we're devoted to Packers fans worldwide since 2007 when we started. Now that the Packers have actually started playing overseas, we can't have our mantra be devoted to Packers fans worldwide and then not show up when they're playing worldwide.
Yeah.
So if they're overseas, we're going to be there.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're going to have opportunities for more worldwide travel.
Munich, here we come.
Munich, I'm begging for Munich. I cannot.
Have you ever been?
No, and that's why I want to go.
Great.
I've only heard amazing things. Yes, I'm really jonesing for
it. Is awesome.
That's what I hear. I can't wait.
All right, let's get to the game Sunday on a scale of 1 to 10. Nags, 10 being optimism that the sun will come up tomorrow. 1 optimism is that Anders Carlson could hit a 55-yarder drunk in the snow to win a game. How confident are you, 1 to 10, that Malik Willis is ready to play, ready to make plays, and be more than just functional against the Colts? 1 to 10. 1 to 10.
This is just on Malik Willis, right? This isn't on the whole game.
Just on Malik Willis being ready to play.
Give me a 5.5. How's that?
5.5. 5.5 trending up. 5.5.
Well, it's towards 10. Yeah, it's not 4.5. It's
5.5 declining. I guess.
Towards the 10. We're going towards the 10. I believe in Matt LaFleur. I think he's being given keys to a Porsche here. I mean, it's not like he's stepping into a destitute situation as a quarterback. He's got a ton of playmakers around him. Probably the best situation he's been in the NFL as a quarterback.
Yeah.
But he's still Malik Willis, and he's still got some issues. And I'm not so certain that no matter what Matt LaFleur draws up, that doesn't make him better as a decision maker, as a processor of the defense, all of those things.
Butchie thinks that they can get away with him throwing it fewer than 20 times. I don't think that's possible.
I think it's possible, but they've got to be.
You see the Colts run defense?
Well, the Colts run defense was dealing with C.J. Stroud at quarterback and playing a lot of too high safeties.
But last year they weren't good either.
Not going to be available. No, I understand that. But look, we know Josh Jacobs is going to have to get going in this game, right? The Colts know Josh Jacobs is going to have to get going in this game. There's no secret. Everybody in the stadium is going to know what the Packers want to do. I think the key is Jaden Reed. I understand Jacobs is going to get a heavy workload. They got to stay ahead of the sticks to keep things at least tenable for Willis, right? If I'm Matt LaFleur, I'm thinking of how many different ways can I use Jaden Reed as not just a receiver, but as a weapon out of the backfield on the end arounds, the push passes, all of the kind of motion stuff that they can utilize him with, screen game, all the ways you can get him the football, because they are going to be ready. They're going to have a safety in the box. They know that the Packers want to run the football in this game. It's how many ways can you run the football other than traditionally just handing off the ball to your running back between the tackles.
See, and that's where I disagree a little bit, Nags, because this is where you can set the standard. Because realistically, the way that they were disciplined in game one was terrible. was terrible.
Yeah.
And if you
No
want
doubt.
an identity, this is a great game against a Colts defense that I know you're playing too, and I get all that stuff.
Yep.
Last year they weren't good. They got tore up by Joe Mixon again.
Yep.
Like this is a game that you draw the line in the sand. This is who we are. If we're gonna win, if this is the team we want to be, this is what we're going to do.
See, this is interesting because I agree with you up to a point because this is the opportunity to help your quarterback, right? Who is, starting after just being in the building for 20 days, so
exactly.
yes, that makes sense. And I totally get it. But you're talking about this is the standard or this is our identity. This goes against everything Matt LaFleur has wanted to do since he got to Green Bay. Like he wants to spread it around. He wants to throw the ball. He has done that since the moment he walked in the door. Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, it hasn't mattered, right? Now, I agree. Yeah, button it up. Let's play some old school football. That just has not been Matt's MO ever. Other than the 2-point conversion try down in Brazil, which I'll never understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm with you on that. I think that makes a world of sense. And to your point, like, yes, they're going to have a very different defensive approach. The Colts are. But I'm going back to when Rodgers was still in town. I remember specifically one kind of availability at his locker when he was talking about teams bringing down that extra safety and saying, just because the numbers are against you doesn't mean you can't run. There are plenty of ways to attack a front with an extra body in there. Like that's going to be the Packers' plan this week. It has to be because they got to get Jacobs going. They got to get him clipping off at 4, 5, 6 yards a run, especially at the start of the game. Because we saw how effective he was in the second half down there in Brazil on Friday night. It's about getting him going much earlier in this game to help out their quarterback.
No, I agree. When you look at last Friday, what's the biggest thing that concerned you? To me, it was the identity. It was the lack of discipline. It wasn't
the lack of discipline. I think their identity was intact. I just think they were so undisciplined on both sides of the ball. The fact that you had so many pre-snap penalties, above the shoulders penalties, that just can't happen. And
so
I understand it's a big trip.
If that gets cleaned up, if that gets cleaned up and they lose, you're still happy.
I don't know about happy. I don't know if I'm ever happy.
Well, but you're at least seeing it. You know what I mean? Like
happy.
The
outlook is better. Yes,
the outlook
100%.
Perfect. Maybe outlook.
The outlook is better, no doubt. The feeling around that game was just so frustrating because they left so much out there, and they shot themselves in the foot repeatedly. When you're having 12 men on the field, when you're trying to catch them with 12 men on the field, and you do, but you negated that touchdown because you had a substitution issue, and that's what Matt was talking about after the game, saying, "What are we doing? Like that's my staff. That's not even the players. That's my staff." So I was glad he took ownership of that because you legit took a touchdown off the board because of your own ridiculousness. Like if they just clean that kind of stuff up, they win that game. So to me, that's what it's about. I want to see a clean operation. I want to see, and I suspect we will, right? Lambeau, home opener, familiar surroundings. You're not traveling 10 hours to get there. There's no 2-hour bus ride to get to the stadium. Like it's just a much more buttoned up environment, which I think will help them.
I am oddly sanguine about the game in Brazil. That's a fancy word for optimistic or positive. But I know you're a theater major and a wordsmith yourself.
I love that.
Appreciate that.
Great word.
I am sanguine about it, providing that Love can come back in a reasonable course of time, couple of games, and on a regular NFL field, because dudes are running around wide open in this offense. This offense is right there on the edge of cooking like crazy.
It's so funny you say that.
They got done in by some slips. And they got done in by some drops and some stupid motions.
Their own issues. Yes, exactly.
Their own issues.
It's so funny you say that because we had our Cheesehead TV happy hour last night, and Corey was saying exactly what you're saying right there. He's like, I don't know why anyone's upset about anything. This offense is ready to cook. Like, it doesn't matter. Yes. Like, there's so many weapons. There's so many guys open. There's so many ways they can beat opponents. And it doesn't matter if you're this type of defense or that type of defense. Okay, you're too high. Well, we got something for that. You're a really physical defense that likes to pound, attack the line of scrimmage. Okay, we got something for that. Like, there's nothing that they can't beat. And the only thing that can stop them is themselves, which we saw down in Brazil.
So, were you as amused as I was that there were so many doctors that rushed to my timeline after Love got hurt? Because I love playing the game of it's cramps, it's an ankle.
Man, that's the internet now, right? That is the internet now. I will say, man, when I got back to the hotel after the game, I had gathered quite a collection of booze to get me to sleep because, I'm working during the game, so I hadn't been drinking. But just watching Love walk off the field. And I know he was in the locker room and they talked about how he walked out and all that stuff. It didn't matter. Like, I was so sure he was done for the season. I was like,
too.
Jordy Nelson walked off the field too. And then he missed the year with an ACL. That's all that was in my head. So, like, to go through the weekend then and then have the reports come out like, oh, wait, the ACL is intact.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it might just be this. Oh, wait, it's just an MCL. Like, then, like, my spirits were buoyed throughout the weekend to the point where now I'm like Dick Vermeil, after Trent Green went down. We are going to rally around Kurt Warner. I'm sitting here going, we are going to rally around Malik Willis, and we're going to play good football. Like, I'm all in now. Let's go. I'm down.
Boy, that quote was so good. Tears in his eyes, Dick Vermeil. Nobody knew who Kurt Warner was.
That was an amazing moment in NFL history. I mean, come on, because they went on to go become the greatest show on turf.
Yeah, there's also been a lot of other moments that were just
okay. We're not talking about that right now,
just...
Butchie. We're not talking about that. You stick with me here. Stick with me. Dream with me, Butchie. Come on.
No, the theatrical story arc of that season is something that'll can hardly be repeated.
Well,
Trent
that's
Green
the other thing we were talking.
Yeah.
We were joking about last night. It's like, what if Malik Willis balls out? What if he's just like balls out and becomes like this reclamation project who all of a sudden looks really good, and everyone
Louis for president,
and everyone at 1265 is like, Jordan, take your time, buddy. It's all right. Hey,
I know the
memes
of Jesse.
games.
The memes of Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad screaming, "He can't get away with this! They can't do this!" are going to be flying
out
if
the door.
Malik Willis is really good. Richardson threw some missiles in week one.
Oh boy,
he is an intriguing prospect, is he not? And then
yes.
In goal line situations, he's got truck stick power near the paint. That's crazy as well.
Well, it's interesting, like having just come off having to face Jalen Hurts is not dissimilar in that regard, right? I got to think there'll be a similar approach as to how they defend him. I think there'll be more zone than people are probably happy about, but I get it because you want eyes on the quarterback. You don't want your guys turning and running with guys because all of a sudden a lane opens up and then he's gone and you've seen what he can do with his legs. But then, that howitzer of an arm, holy cow. I mean, it's rare that in week one we get what is undoubtedly in contention for the throw of the year, but we certainly saw that on that touchdown pass. I mean, that is absurd arm strength and placement.
Yeah.
So they got their work cut out for him. Now, on the flip side, he was 9 of 20 or 19 or something like that. Like, he has accuracy issues.
Accurate.
There's zero question there. So I think there will be opportunities for the secondary. I think it's about how you hem him in the pocket.
Speaking of the secondary, are you concerned there might be a bubbling Jair problem on the team's hands?
No, I don't think there's a Jair problem, but I do think Jair needs to play better. Of that, there is zero doubt. I mean, you cannot be the number one guy being tasked with taking their number one receiver, which he was on A.J. Brown for much of that night. And then fine, okay, that's the challenge, right? But then you're squawking at him and getting him all pumped up, and then he burns your ass in front of the entire country. I mean, the other thing, and look, the touchdown, I actually don't kill him for because it's like A.J. Brown gets paid too, right? Like, I understand it's a tough assignment, and he's in the slot there, and he takes him up the sideline. Would have liked a better angle from the safety. All of that happens, and that's football. But what kills me is when Hafley finally dials up some heavy pressure, which was supposed to be Jalen Hurts' kryptonite, right? We saw how he struggled with it mightily down the stretch last year. Well, he shows the heavy pressure. Hurts makes the adjustment, gets the ball out to A.J. Brown in the flat behind the sticks. It's a third down. All Jair has to do is make a tackle, but he's out of position. A.J. Brown is off to the races, and they go on and score. It's like, you're the guy. I understand, like, there are, lots of mitigating circumstances as far as the calls, what you're being asked to do in certain coverages. But in situations like that, they're counting on you to make that tackle. They're counting on you to cover their best because you're supposed to be our best. So the standard just has to be higher for Jair. And I'm not sitting here saying, like, he's a terrible player or he's fallen off. There's none of that in my mind. But he has got to – the standard has to be higher because, A, they're paying him that way. But, B, he's supposed to be a leader on this team. And that performance on Friday night just doesn't measure up in any way.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Edgerrin Cooper and somewhat limited
baby.
snaps? I think I saw the snap counts, but he did flash.
He popped.
He did flash.
He popped. I actually asked LaFleur about him specifically after the game because I couldn't believe how much he played. Like, he didn't play that much, but he played way more than I thought he would, considering that he missed almost all of camp, didn't play at all in the preseason. I don't think he worked in teams at all that we saw in training camp. Like,
26 out of 76 possible snaps.
And it was very obvious. It was so clear how much more athletic and kind of dynamic they looked with him on the field. And, LaFleur talked about it on Monday. He is certainly going to see the field more going forward. I don't think there's any way you keep him on the bench in favor of a Isaiah McDuffie or anybody else. Right. They have to get him on the field. You're going to live with some of the growing pains. Matt mentioned he did have one bust that was costly in coverage, or maybe in run fit, sorry. But I think you live with that because the upside is undeniable, and you want to get him out there making those mistakes now in September so that he rounds out his game as the year goes on, much like we saw on the offensive side last year where guys were making mistakes, but then they became a well-oiled machine down the stretch. I think that's the hope with Cooper in the defense this season.
Right. It was 11 snaps, not 26. I read that wrong. It was 26 snaps combined. Yeah, 26 to 76. So it was even fewer snaps than that for Edgerrin Cooper. But yes, we're hoping to see more on that. Absolutely. Okay. Let's get the lid going. What does your gut say about how many weeks for Jordan Love out? Just I think the gut. You're not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
You didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express.
I don't play one on TV.
Yeah.
I think he's back for the Minnesota game. I think
that's what me and Zay have been saying too. Yeah,
makes perfect sense, right?
The most reasonable kind of expectation, I think. And I can't wait to have Matt LaFleur trying to do some gamesmanship every week from now until then.
I was gonna say he already has. I mean, his press round
when he said Malik Willis will start if Jordan's not cleared. That's adorable, Matt. Okay. All right. If he's not
you saw the quagmire that the poor kid for San Francisco got in over
for just telling the truth.
I know.
Poor guy.
Never tell the truth. It's the
Never
NFL lie. Always lie and then keep lying and then die with the lie.
I just love that. Just get Shanahan in some hot water. That's all I want. Like, Kyle Shanahan.
Why does everybody hate
man? Because he's a pompous douche. You know this. Come on now.
Flat
look at the guy.
Bills,
what did someone call him?
Third base.
What do you mean? Look at him. You and Wayne both don't like
nepotism.
Hey, but he's pretty good at what he does.
Come on now.
Is he pretty good at what he does?
He's great at what he does, except for in crunch time in the Super Bowl. That's where.
Very true. Yeah, we can agree on that.
Not knowing when to run the ball.
No. Just run the ball, buddy. Just run the ball.
I got nothing against Kyle Shanahan. He's a flat build, nepo baby, rat faced jack off. Wow. Other than that, he's a great guy.
Man, you were okay. I don't rat face thing. That's awfully personal. Nothing personal. He's just rat faced.
I mean, I don't know why there's so much hate. The guy's good at what he does.
He's very good at what he does. Very good.
I wish my daddy ran a football team. I'd be pretty good at
stop that. Okay, stop. He's
still pretty good at what he does. It doesn't matter how he got there.
He's not good.
There's a lot of daddies. There's a lot of kids that had daddies that did stuff, and those kids looked and messed up
and stunk to high heaven with what they were asked to do. Yeah,
David Shula. Yeah, okay, I got it.
I just saw this weekend, so there's another Shula in the mix. Defensive coordinator.
Really? A grand Shula?
I think so.
One of the grandkids?
Man, that's just it's got to be nice for some guys.
Shulas are like the Kennedys of
seriously. It must be nice, man. It just must be nice. Guys working like 20, 30 years in the league, can't get past like defensive line coach, and then in comes grandkid Shula. Oh, I'm a coordinator. Okay, great.
Right.
And that's the other thing. He looks like he's 20. Like, come on. What are we doing here?
He probably is.
All right. Exactly.
As always, Nagler brought to you by our friends and associates at Rogers Behavioral Health, Hildebrand Law, the great taste of Miller Lite, and Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference. Thank you, Nags. CheeseheadTV.com, your second screen during games and your one-stop shop 24/7, 365 for all things Packers in the U.S., Brazil, Uzbekistan, China, you name it. It's all over. It's global, baby.
That's us. Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you next week.
All right. See you. Coming up, Banger Rejoin. Who's got it?
Luddy.
Mm-hmm.
Luddy. Did your banger win yesterday, Brian?
It should. I didn't look it up, but
I don't think it did. It was losing when I checked in. Yeah. I know. We'll see if Luddy can knock one out of the park. and we'll mop up whatever we missed. You're listening to Czabe and Butch in the morning on the game. Ba, ba, ba. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, once again, can't believe it hasn't been used yet. YMCA by the Village People. Turn it up.
Luddy!
Fun fact, Andrew actually lived at the YMCA himself when transitioning from being a football ops guy at a small school in Arizona to being a radio burgeoning superstar that he is on his track to be on now.
Is that
Lived at
true?
the YMCA.
No.
True story, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it was
lived
just the office at the.
Do you
at the
still
stadium.
live? Do you still live in the YMCA? I thought maybe now you actually live in the YMCA. It's right down the street. I mean, you might.
Yeah, no, but things are a little better.
A little bit better. Okay. Young man, there's no need to feel down. Young man, pick yourself up off the ground. I said young man because you're in a new town. No need to be unhappy. There's a place you can go. The YMCA. All right. The Village People were.
A band.
Okay.
Oh, you
you
did no
didn't do
research?
on
Well,
this.
I don't have internet.
Oh,
I also do a morning check, just like, hey, just double checking to make sure it's not in the log. Wasn't able to do that either.
Okay.
So if you could provide,
I'll
some
give you that.
details-
and
I'll
by
give
the
you
way, just to let you know, American Pie.
Yeah.
Winner!
What was the final?
Get out. Don McLean's American Pie,
Boom,
your
boom,
banger
boom.
yesterday.
Boom!
What was the final score?
50.6 to 49.4.
Wow, a buzzer
You can
beater, a
suck on
squeaker.
them apples.
Wow, that's amazing.
Actually, 50.3. Sorry, against 49.7.
Okay, 7 original members of the Village People: disco, soul, funk, rock, R&B, different categories. They're on a bunch of different labels through the years, and they're known for their onstage costumes and suggestive lyrics. Nowadays, a band like this would get run off the stage for cultural appropriation of things like Native Americans and bikers and firefighters, police. This was one of their big hits, along with Macho Man, In the Navy, and Go West. They all sounded the same. It's disco. I'm a macho man. Same song. It's all disco. But they made a lot of money and did a lot of cocaine and had a lot of unprotected sex and probably got chlamydia and a bunch of other stuff. But, you know,
Sounds like
life went on. I don't know how many
chlamydia
guys
sounds
are still alive of their past. Oh, my God, the past members. See, the beauty of a group like the Village People is you can replace the musicians all you want. You just hand them the cop outfit and go, here, can you sing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
You're the cop now. You're the new cop in the Village People. No one's going to know. Is that the original Indian? I don't know. He's got a headdress on. You can sing, all right, or lip sync as need be. Okay, your banger rejoin brought to you by Fairways of Woodside. Man, take advantage of this great stretch of Indian summer that we got going on right now. Go play some golf at Fairways of Woodside. Log on at fairwaysofwoodside.com. Book your tee time, and away you go. Also, Iron Jock wants you in the best gear